Hello. Welcome to July. How the fuck is it July? How are we over halfway through 2026? What the hell is going on? I'm going on holiday in like just over 2 weeks. So excited. We have done some thinking because obviously we ended last month with like a small bombshell that we're considering, well, we will be getting rid of my supervisionary team. However, there has been a slight edit to the plans because I went away and I did some thinking. And by some thinking, I mean I sat up and stressed about it late into the night, and then have like spoken to friends. We realised that we chose Janet. Yes, I am going back to their anonymised names because we're not quite sure who's staying on the project, who's not. So when I initially was applying for this project, and I kind of wish I had like filmed it a little bit more because I don't think I've got anything from that time period, but when I initially like reached out to academics to come onto this project, because it's my PhD project, I designed it myself. I might do a whole other video about like how I kind of came up with my PhD idea and lessons learned and all of that stuff. So if that's something that you're interested in, like let me know. But I reached out to Janet. She was the second academic that I contacted. I really liked her profile. I really liked the work that she'd done with people living with dementia. I was really like, cool, you're like one of like two strong contenders for my primary supervisor. And I was kind of sat thinking about it and I was like, actually, I didn't choose David at all. Like he just kind of dropped into my lap as a result of Janet knowing him and recommending him as the supervisor, like my primary supervisor, because she can't be my first supervisor because she's not had any of her students pass their Viva yet, which is like fine, fair enough. And looking back, like who was I to have questioned her when she was like being helpful and suggesting people to like help me with my project? Like I was not in a position to be like, oh, I don't think that he's like a good fit. But he was one of the profiles that I dismissed when I was going through staff profiles because I was like, his background doesn't match my project at all. But again, like looking back, who was I going to have been to have questioned Janet when she was like, cool, here's someone that I think would work really nicely with the project, blah, blah. Like, it would have been stupid of me. So I have decided that I'm going to offer Janet the chance to stay on board the project because having thought about it, I'm like, she was the one that I wanted initially. She was someone that I believed could help me with my project. She was someone that I thought was going to be beneficial to me. I chose her first and foremost above everyone. And actually, when we've had conversations about adjusting things and my support needs and various other bits, like she's been the quickest to immediately kind of go, oh, I get what you're coming from. And like, yes, okay, she had a little bit of a pushback about the planning stuff, but like nowhere near to the extent that David did. Like David was like immediately like, essentially, no, fuck off, we can't plan anything any better. What do you mean you want to plan anything better? That's completely ridiculous type vibes. Whereas Janet very much was like, it kind of depends how we do it type vibes. And then like with everything else, she like immediately got what I was talking about. Like she had examples when I was like, oh, I'd love a more discursive supervision approach. Like she pulled up an example from when she felt something had worked during supervision of her own accord and was like, I think, like, is this what you mean? And like she's been very like open to kind of having conversations, to keeping that kind of train kind of going. She's been very much like her inexperience, and like I don't feel bad saying this because she is inexperienced. If she's not had any students pass their Viva, that means she's early in her supervision journey. So like I think it's fair to say that she's inexperienced. I also think it's fair to say that David is inexperienced as well. Because this is just my opinion, like what are they going to do, sue me? But like Janet's inexperience comes through in almost like a least weird way possible, like a puppy dog kind of like very excited, very like amenable to like change, kind of wanting to do good, but like not necessarily knowing how to do it in the best ways. So like she's made some interesting comments on some of my chapters, like, but she's also a reviewer for some of my friends, and this review happened after the conversation that I had with her about feedback styles. And my friends have then shared some comments and some conversations that she's left or had with them on like their work, and actually it seems like she's really taken my feedback on board about, you know, being constructively critical, and like yeah, like she was the one that kind of left like a whole bunch of, well, not a whole bunch of comments, a comment about capital letters and my use of capital letters, and didn't question it, assume that I didn't know what capital letters were, whereas when one of my friends had capitalised something weirdly, instead of doing what she did with me, she did what I had recommended and questioned it and went, I'm not quite sure why you're capitalising things here. That doesn't make sense to me. Do you mind expanding on this or explaining it a bit? You might want to check this out, type vibes. And that was after I'd had the conversation with her. So like, while she's not had a chance to like feedback on any of my work, it does seem like she's actually genuinely taken what I've said on board and has like altered how she works, and is like willing to try things. So my current plan is to remove David from the project after the meeting in a week, and offer Janet the chance to stay on board, saying that, you know, what I've essentially just said to you guys. Whether she will stay is then literally up to her. I think I would quite like it if she stayed, but I'm kind of neutral about it now. Like, I'm like, I don't mind if she stays, I don't mind if she goes. I think she's got a lot that she can bring to this project, and I can see a way working with her going forward that would be beneficial to like me and the project. I think I've got a lot to learn from her. I like that she's started to kind of be quite sassy, and like I've seen kind of different sides of her, so like that's been really nice, and I feel like we've kind of got a rapport of like vibing with each other, for lack of a better phrase. So if she chooses to stay, I would be quite happy with that concept. So we would then be bringing in either 1 or 2 new people. So she would, Janet would stay as my secondary supervisor as she currently is, and then we would be replacing David with an academic of some description. I have a list, and I've said to the dean of my school, I'm like, well, I will be saying, I haven't sent it in the email that I've drafted, I'm like, I don't mind if it becomes a trio. So I'm like, you know, I don't mind if we onboard, like, we need to onboard a new first primary supervisor anyway, who I'm like, there's 3 choices for me at the moment. The plan is to swap out David with one of those 3, because I would be comfortable with any of them coming on board and being my primary supervisor. And then if we're making it a trio, or if there's scope to take on like an extra person, then either one of those 3 who has like less capacity to be like a primary lead but still wants to be involved in the project could come on either as like a secondary. I don't know if you can have joint second supervisors. I'm not quite sure how this all works. I essentially don't want Janet to be demoted. Like, I want her to stay on as secondary supervisor. I want her to get that experience. I want to get her expertise as well, so that like we can both learn from each other, and I feel like we've got a foundation that like we could build on. Hello. I love how I turn the camera on and then immediately try and like do something ridiculous. Off to uni. I'm gonna try and read at least 5 of the papers that I need to read. I've got some prep that I need to do for my next supervision meeting. Where are my research questions, aims and objectives? There. I need those to come with me as well. So I need to combine these, which is my research aims, objectives and questions at the moment. I need to split them up so that they are kind of divided into ones that like match, because I'm editing my research questions at the moment. So I have got pens and scissors and the paper and the sellotape that I need, because I keep forgetting to do it. So I'm also going to do that today. And then read some papers. I've got a meeting about career prospects post PhD, which, you know, we could argue is a little bit early to be thinking about this kind of stuff, but never hurts to be organised. So I'm doing that. at 12:30. My friend Hannah is going to be in as well, so I get to catch her up on the PhD supervised chaos. And then tomorrow I have a building tour of the Spark building, which is much needed. And then I am meeting a new acquaintance to discuss PhD supervisor being swapped and trying to get that done. So, gonna be a good day. Hello, I swear this is like the longest I've actually gone consecutively updating. This is like day 4. My office is empty temporarily. Hannah is doing her review meeting. I've just had news about mine, so I kid you not, the 8th is going to be like the nice neat bow that wraps up this disaster of the last like 6 months. So I'm literally like, the 8th is going to actually like murder my brain. The 7th and the 8th is going to be like insane, because the 7th I'm at the Senedd for a training event, which is like 4.5 hours of my brain needing to concentrate. The 8th I'm then doing a student staff panel as student rep, gonna at least have to co-chair it. So I'm doing that in the morning. In fact, I'm gonna find the time, it's because it feels really insane to me. So I am doing student staff panel 11:30 until 1, then my supervision meeting is 2 until 3, and then my review meeting is online from 3:30 until 5, and then I'm meeting my friend Shreya afterwards to debrief about everything. So I'm likely not going to get home until like 8, but the head of my school is being sent this email automatically at just after 4, so by the time I have finished that review meeting, this will be the last interaction that I have with my reviewer and David. And then we will see whether or not Janet stays on board and who else we on board as a new supervisor, or supervisors, plural, because it depends what we do. But this will be like everything tied up, wrapped up, sorted, review paperwork done. Like problem solved. So yeah, it's gonna be kind of crazy intense, and I'm not necessarily loving it as a concept. In fact, next week is gonna be pretty crazy. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. In fact, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday basically is gonna be kind of insane. I've also just realised I'm sending this meeting on the 8th, and on the 10th I'm part of a care community meeting that David will obviously be at because he's co-director of said thing. So that's going to be fucking awkward. It's so reassuring to know that my hair just thinks that it's cool to refuse to lie on my fucking skull. Hey. Anyway, morning, welcome to Saturday. I'm off to a food festival with my friend Abby today, which will be lovely. So I'm not really doing uni things, I'm not really doing house things, I'm just generally vibing. We've got everything that we need planned, done, ready to send, sorted, you name it. For next week. The 8th is going to be insane. I'm meeting my friend Shreya on Monday for prepping for the student staff panel, which is the last one for the year. We've got a bunch of things that we need to raise. Thursday, I've got 2 meetings that I'm doing. I think they're counselling from the uni, and then meeting my study skills support mentor, who I fucking adore her. She's just amazing. So we're going to try and get the UKRI internship placement application at least a bit more done than it is at the moment. I've started doing some notes on it, and my plan is to try and do some more bullet points and stuff over the coming weeks, or days even, not weeks. If I do it over the coming weeks, then I'll be doing it when I'm on holiday. It's not due until the 8th of September, so we've got a while.
Welcome to the week where everything changes. Which my brain immediately just wanted to sing waitress songs at you. But we'll resist. So, today is the week that we have everything stressful going on, basically, which is fun. So, today I've not really got anything stressful. I've got therapy in about 15 minutes, hence making the cup of tea. Also, if it looks like I've just rolled out of bed, yes, you would be correct. So, today's fairly chill. Tomorrow I am at the Sun for a research event. And then Wednesday's when everything kicks off. With like supervision and a student staff panel and the review. So, wish me luck. I'm in today, so my plan is to try and get some more of the literature review done, as well as to try and get a little bit more on the UKRI internship application that I need to do. Just some bullet points, like I don't need to start writing it yet because my mentor's going to help me on Thursday. So that's my plan. I probably need to make sure that I've done everything for supervision. Which I can always guarantee I haven't. But like, I'm going to check. I think they've got everything. I might just send them both an email being like, just as a reminder, this is the 3 things that we're talking about. Hello. Why does something I'm wearing smell like it hasn't dried properly? Is it my jeans? Oh, it's my jeans. Having now changed my clothes, we're all good. Going with flowery leggings and an orange t-shirt for my day at the Sanders. I have been up since, I kid you not, 5:30 this morning because my brain woke up and just refused to go back to sleep. So I gave up and ended up eating breakfast at like 7, having sort of laid in bed and debated life choices for a bit. I'm just going to be tired for the day, I think. I meet my friend Janine at the Welsh Millennium Centre at sort of 10, half 10. I need to get there for 10 because I can't get there for half 10. So I'm charging my laptop to make sure my laptop's got charge. And I will probably sit in the Millennium Centre, assuming it's open, or a cafe if I can find something. Or if the weather's nice, I'll just sit down at the bay. And I will read my chapter that I don't want to read but need to read. So that I'm prepped for the review tomorrow. I will send a couple of emails because I need to send the graduate office and the head of my school a agenda for the student staff panel meeting that we're doing tomorrow morning. And I need to phone some local laptop repair shops because my personal laptop, not my uni laptop, but like my Chromebook that I've got, basically thinks it doesn't have a battery even when there's one that's like, I literally bought it a new one, that is like fine and not damaged, seems to be like a good battery, but it doesn't accept that it has one. So basically it's like a static computer, only works if you're connected to the power. So I need to phone some places to get some quotes for how much it's going to cost them to have a look at it. It sounds like it's now an issue with like probably the battery connection to the motherboard. I've tried like factory resetting it. I've like literally got a new battery for it. My old one blew. So I think, having spoken to my uncle who's much better with tech than I am, he was like, yeah, it's probably that like either this like one connection died and it caused the other connection to die, or like vice versa. I can't quite remember what connections he said were the issues, but he was like, I can't fix it, sadly. He was like, I can build computers, but he was like, I can't like I don't have the tech to look at things, so I need to phone some repair shops. I found a couple, so I'm gonna phone them, see how much they're gonna cost, as well as try and get an idea of like how long it might take, because my plan was to bring my personal laptop that has no uni stuff on it at all to France with me. I do obviously have like my work laptop, so that's what I've been using in the meantime, but obviously like it's kind of far from ideal to, yeah, like not have like a functional laptop. Hello, welcome to the day to end all days. Not that, you know, we're being dramatic or anything. I am ready for student staff panel at 11:30, then supervision at 1, and then my review at 3:30. So wish my poor sorry brain good luck. I'm gonna make a coffee before I go so that I have caffeine. But I'm literally gonna head into uni like now. Can we also appreciate how fucking cute this little flamingo shirt is? I'm debating if I do the sleeves up. I kind of like it not being done. And I have a tan, guys. I know you can't really see it. Can I? Does it show up any easier on my wrist? Man, not really, it's too subtle on the camera. I have a tan. I have been outside enough that like I'm actually tanned, so yay. But this is the earring combo that we've gone with. I've got some rings, got my little cute fox necklace. So we're kind of going with like witchy vibes today. So I'm basically ready. I'm gonna go make a coffee and then get on the train and get into uni early so that I can try and do some prep work before the student staff panel, because that's essentially the only time that I've got today to do stuff, because I need to then find food after that finishes. And hey, my brain slept from pretty much 10 until 7, so I feel pretty well rested today, which is really good. So I have energy. I have the email ready to send. So yeah, come with me to the Emerald City. I don't know why I always start these things on the stairs whenever I'm like, I'm gonna do an update. Probably because I'm halfway down and then I'm like, I haven't updated people on blah blah. We did it, guys. Sorry if you can hear the kettle. We sent the email. So I have some updates that I need to do about the content of the I didn't remember to bring I didn't get me mug. I knew there was something I forgot. Anyway, I have updates that I need to do about what is going on with my project team, because we had my 9-month review today, which went really well, if we exclude David being a bit of an arse, but like that's kind of to be expected at this point in time. My reviewer was amazing, actually. She may be unorganised, but she was really, really helpful. So she gave me lots of really good things to think about. She was really interested in my project. She wanted to know, like, she asked really interesting questions and was like doing it in a way that felt really inclusive and supportive. So that was really nice. So yeah, her opinion and her perspective on also the relationship between David and I was really interesting as well, because the way that, for those who've never done a PhD, the way that an annual review, which is what this one is, they just fall at like a weird point in the academic year. But the way that they work is that your lead supervisor, David in my case, so not for much longer, will come along to like the first 10 minutes to half an hour-ish, and they'll give like their perspective as your main supervisory lead about, you know, how they think you're doing, if they've got any concerns about things, like that kind of stuff. So David was there for the first half hour-ish of mine, and then he left. And my reviewer like asked at the end, she was like, do you have a good relationship with David? And I literally was like, no. And she was like, yeah, I could tell. I was like, oh, clearly haven't been doing a very good job at hiding it. Supervision today was ridiculously stressful right at the end because David was like actually the most like aggressive that he's been ever. So I literally came out and I cried, which I haven't done before. So that wasn't fun. So the update to what is going on with my project team. Initially, when I had said that I wanted to swap out my supervisory team, it was the whole team. That obviously, as we know, isn't happening. We'd initially just requested for David and my reviewer to be swapped out because my reviewer's not great at being proactive and organising meetings. However, after meeting with her today and witnessing firsthand just how much fun she was and how like flexible and like supportive and helpful she was with me and my project, and like, you know, she asked all the right questions. She you know, literally when she found out that, you know, I'd been raising concerns about how supervisionary meetings were going, which was like not quite how I'd raised them, but you know, fuck it, if David wants to position it from that perspective, go for it, mate. But, you know, she literally stopped and she was like, oh, with that information, like, what can I do as your reviewer to make this process easier for you? She was like, what do you need? And I was like, literally what you're already doing. So I have decided, I know initially at some point I had started naming who my supervisors were. I then stopped because I realised that things weren't working. However, you can also literally just go on Cardiff University's Staff of Social Sciences profile page and search for my name, and I come up and my supervisors are linked on that. So I'm gonna wait until I have confirmation as to who my new supervisory team consists of, because at the moment we're still not 100% sure that Janet is definitely going to stay. I really hope that she does, but if she doesn't, like, that's literally her choice. But once we've met and we've kind of set it in stone and we know that it works and it's all good and it's all fine, I am going to go back to naming who they are, because there's sort of not really any point pretending like we all don't know who they are. Because you literally can go and Google my name and I come up on the Soxeye website, which makes me sound more famous than I actually am. So, and I think I keep being like, I'm going to do a video about like how I did my funding application and how I chose my supervisors. And actually I will do that when I have this new supervisory team, so I can go into their backgrounds and their expertise and kind of what drew me to them. I already know that about Janet because she was who I approached first and foremost when I was doing this funding. But until I know who my new lead supervisor is going to be, I don't know. Like, I know who the top 3 are, but until I know which one of those, or someone else that I've not thought of, winds up being my lead supervisor, there's sort of not really much point doing a video about like how I chose them or what drew me to them, because I don't know who's got which background and what they're doing. So that was, yeah, I will do that at some point though. So yeah, the email has officially been sent to the head of my school, formally requesting that David is removed from my project, especially after the way that he treated me today. I also emailed Janet to be like, thank you for being an absolute godsend in that meeting. I just want you to know that the concerns that I raised with Dean are not levied at you. I've got no concerns with how you're working with me. You've just kind of been lumped into this conversation because there wasn't really a way of
doing that without you because you're kind of part of the team, but also like I'm aware that like David's been the majority of like the issues that I've had, and actually I've really appreciated the way that you've kind of gone about working with me and how flexible and supportive and just generally amazing that you've been. And I was really grateful for your presence in that difficult end of the supervision that we had. So thank you. And also sorry that you got caught in the crossfires of that, if I hurt your feelings or like was said anything that was like misconstrued towards you. That was not my intention. I'm just frustrated at I'm just frustrated at how David has kind of gone about hosting these conversations, and that was where I took issue with it, not with you. So please don't think that my concerns that I raised with Dean were related to you. So yeah, we will see. I have a study skill support meeting tomorrow, and then I'm at an all-day event or all-morning event on Friday. And then I don't really know what I'm doing next week, but I know I'm not going to be in Glamorgan because there's a graduation event going on, so I will be somewhere else. And then I'll be on holiday. But there might be updates when I'm away on holiday because I need to get this lead supervisor thing sorted as soon as possible. So I'm like, if that involves, I don't think I can do meetings because I'm like, I'm pretty sure that my internet in France is not going to be good enough to support meetings. But equally, I don't know till I'm there. So I've said to the head of my school that I'm like, I will obviously keep an eye on my emails. If we can magically resolve it before then, great, fantastic, awesome. But like, people are going to be on holiday and like stuff. So yeah, we'll see. I'll keep you guys posted. I'm going to go drink my cup of tea and collapse in a heap because I'm fucking tired because that was a lot of brain space today. Thank you for listening to my ramble. Hello. Yes, we're doing a different angle. Not convinced it's gonna work. Hang on, let me move you far closer. Oh, and now you can't see me. I'm quite good at this whole like doing YouTubey thing. Update RE, various university related things. So we left off obviously having updated, I think yesterday, saying that the email had been sent, and that we were then waiting for confirmation as to what the next steps were. Supervision yesterday was one of the hardest things I've had to do in a long time, actually. Not because like I was anticipating anything was gonna go wrong. In fact, quite the opposite. I was looking for reasons to not send that email because I'm conflict avoidant. If there's a way of trying to make things work, I was hopeful that my doubts about David would have been proven wrong and that it would have just been a blip and that, you know, everything was going to have been fine. And I've had time to process this, which is why I didn't say yesterday, because I came home and I was an absolute emotional wreck. I was really quite angry. Whereas now I've kind of just settled on feeling sad that things didn't work out how I wanted them to, because I was hopeful that there was going to be an alternate outcome that would have resulted in him needing to leave the project, basically. So yeah, the end of supervision resulted in a pretty extensive disagreement between David and myself over my learning needs, which resulted in me crying, thankfully not in front of either of my supervisors, but prior to the review, which obviously was like not a good frame of mind to be entering this review in. I was really quite distressed yesterday. I'm really quite just like, I don't know what the hell just happened. So I think I've said kind of over the last however many months, I've kind of touched on concerns that I've had about supervisors, because I've realised more and more that I need a team who are at least open-minded enough to have a discussion with me about my learning needs in a fashion where they're seeking to find a resolution, not seeking to defend themselves. Because ultimately, I don't view any of the conversations that I've been having with my team up until now as me trying to tell them that they suck, which I think is how David has been taking it. I've very much been approaching these conversations being open and honest and being like, look, I think collectively as a trio, we've fucked up. Because ultimately, like, this relationship is a two-way thing. They only know what I tell them. They can't read minds. So how are they meant to know that I had struggled for the last 3 months with how we went about planning and prepping and approaching this review point? Because I didn't know how to tell them. And to be completely honest, I don't know what would have made it more useful, because it felt like it was so context dependent. But I just know that it felt unstructured and very chaotic and very stressful. Which I think was down mostly from everyone that I've spoken to for the fact that I was doing my methods chapter. Even my reviewer was like, I don't really understand why you've done your methods chapter once David had left this review. She was like, it's really quite odd. And I was like, well, I got told to do it. It was either do the methods chapter and the ethics, which I knew I needed to get in sooner rather than later, because we've, you know, had issues now with the ethics committee, losing my paperwork and coming back and forth with a whole bunch of, like, we've been in for like over 2 months now and still haven't even got like an ethics question like back, other than like, we've lost all of your application, can you send it in again, like 2 times in a row. So I knew that, I didn't know that that was going to happen, but like I knew from experience that like ethics always takes longer than you anticipate. So I was like, I want to make sure that like I give myself wiggle room to like get it done, get it sorted, like before I'm at a point where I'm like starting to panic that I'm not going to manage to start doing my data collection on time, which my reviewer, who is staying, in case I haven't said that, so I may as well name her. Her name is Bella. I won't give her surname away, but like, she's lovely. She taught me on a couple of different things. And yeah, she's definitely staying regardless of whether or not my supervisory team go as a pair or just David goes. We'll hopefully have confirmation on that tomorrow. But yeah, Bella basically was like, I don't know why you've done your methods, like it's really weird. But also reiterated to me that my initial plan of like my logical reason for doing the ethics now was actually really sensible, which made me feel quite like, oh, thank you. Because she was like, yeah, I can see why you would be like, I want to give it some extra wiggle room, because if I get it in and I get it early, that's like so much better than getting it and realizing that you are like delayed by 2 months or whatever. So I was like, that was actually really nice to hear from another academic, and it was really quite nice to also hear that amongst other academics, it's not just been Bella who was like, why the hell are you doing your methods chapter? But like, it was also nice to hear like my reviewer like raise those concerns without me having to like initiate that conversation. So that felt really rewarding and really quite nice to sort of hear. But anyway, supervision essentially resulted in a pretty major disagreement between David and myself over my learning support needs, specifically relating to the fact that I took away from the last conversation that we had, the fact that he had explicitly said that we could not plan for chapters. Now here's the thing. I am, because of my trauma and because I'm autistic, I'm really good when people say something that is like really specific and stands out in a conversation. I am really good, sadly, at remembering that word for word. Not for like an extended period of time, but you know, until there's something else that comes up that's like a weird thing that someone said. Like if they've said something like really firmly and like stood by that, then I remember it, and I remember it word for word because I keep going back over it and being like, did I understand that correctly, and trying to learn from it. So I know that he would have said, if not, we cannot plan for chapters. It would have been something very close to that, because there would have been no way that I would have walked away from that conversation, had time to reflect on it, and been like, I still feel like I've got concerns, to a point where I then went back to the dean of my school. If I had come out of that conversation and felt heard and supported, and like there had been a space carved out, even if we didn't reach like a resolution, which we still haven't, but if I had come out and felt like he had been closer to Janet in his approach and been like, I'm not quite sure I understand where you're coming from, but let's continue to discuss this and make sure that this becomes like part of the conversation so that we can kind of collectively work out what goes on and what exactly was the matter. But he didn't. He was very defensive and essentially, in so many words, said that no, we can't plan, and I don't think that that's a sensible idea. So I then went back to Dean and was like, what the hell do I do now? So Dean then took it on and emailed David and Janet, which I feel bad about looking back, not because he emailed them, but because Janet got roped into all of this, because like none of this really had anything to do with her approach to doing stuff. Yes, okay, she left some slightly weird feedback that was like not very helpful, but it was a comment and I've long since forgiven that, and I find it really fucking funny now. But yeah, because Dean had then raised this with David and Janet, and like they'd been emailed, notified about it, and all of this other stuff, like it was then a topic for conversation in supervision. Which was like a questionable decision at the very best. But also I sort of was like, oh, it'll be like a 2-minute conversation of me being like, yeah, so I just had some lingering concerns about how we planned for things. It'd be maybe, you know, if we start prepping for like the next chapter, maybe like, I was kind of thinking, you know, maybe we could kind of have a discussion about how we kind of do that and trial it out so that like by the time we get to the next review point, like we've kind of got a system in place for like how we work towards written work to get it to like a first draft that, or something that we're okay for other people to see type thing. Like I wasn't expecting it to be like an in-depth conversation or whatever, and I definitely wasn't expecting David to launch out of the gate of this in like the most, how have I been describing it to other people? Defensive, verging on angry, and aggressive approach, to the point where he said something along the lines of, heard that you went back to Dean, is there anything else that you didn't tell us last time that you want to tell us now? Which is like an interesting way of phrasing that, because I was like, that kind of feels like you're implying that I deliberately kept secrets from you. I was like, that's not the case. And he also started this conversation when supervision had ended, bearing in mind the man also knew, A, just how fucking stressed I was about this review point anyway, because I literally had said to them in the meeting that we had just had for supervision that I hated this piece of work that I submitted, and I felt like it really didn't represent me very well, and I didn't want Bella to see it. So, like, you can take from that like, I wasn't best looking forward to this review point, and they also knew that this review point was a source of stress for me anyway, so quite why he then decided 28 minutes before review was supposed to start to then raise this also very stressful conversation, rather than just being like, hey, I've recognised that we haven't touched on this, we don't have enough time to discuss it, but I think it's really important. Are you around next week before you go on leave, just to like really quickly touch base about this? And have another conversation because it feels really important to us. And I'd have been like, yeah, no, that's fine. But he literally launched into it, and it turned into like an interrogation, and he got so defensive and so just like aggressive and like angry about the fact that I'd dared to go back to Dean. And just was like, yeah, like really, like I was quite taken aback by it. And came out of supervision, had about 20 minutes until review, maybe a little bit less, and I just spent the majority of that absolutely sobbing my eyes out in the office because I am so conflict avoidant that it was just awful. Like, I just was like, holy crap. And thankfully my friend Brish was there to essentially catch me as I fell apart. But I literally just spent like 10 minutes like sobbing, being like, what have I done? Why has this happened? I don't understand what I've done. Like, I know that I remembered the outcome of that conversation correctly. Like, I know I wouldn't have gone to Dean. Like, why am I being like why is someone trying to convince me that my memory is wrong? Like, I know what I heard. And even now, I'm still like, I still can't quite believe that happened. My brain kind of hasn't like wrapped itself around the fact that my supervisor thought that it was appropriate to do what he did and become so defensive and so aggressive that it resulted in me literally crying. Like, how is that a supportive approach to that conversation, especially when it's around learning needs, and especially when you know that like I'm already stressed because there's a review point coming up? Like, why not just leave it? Like, why did you force both Janet and myself into that conversation to a point where Janet had to get involved to mediate because he just was refusing to listen to what I was saying, and he was getting more irate and more angry, and it was causing me to start to like panic and not be able to like articulate things and get really frustrated, not at like the topic in question and not at him, and like definitely not at her, but frustrated that he wasn't understanding where I was coming from. So I was like trying to re-explain things and trying to like reposition things and be like make it work in some capacity, but it just didn't. So if I had any doubts, and I did throughout supervision, I was like, oh, maybe I should, like, he was being really great. And I was sat there in real time being like, oh crap, I don't think I want to send that email anymore because like he's being really helpful and really supportive and like I'm really vibing with this. Like, shit, I don't think I want to send that email. And then I was like, yes, shit, I don't want to send that email. Like, amazing, we've sorted this thing out. And like, he's being really helpful. And like, this is a new side of him that I've not seen before. And like, great, awesome, new page, new leaf, whatever the phrase is, like, we've got it, we've sorted it. And then for him to turn around and do that, I was like, yeah, no, that was why I felt like I was concerned and why I was stressed about this supervision meeting. So we've now had confirmation that Dean has had that email. David has also emailed Dean to raise concerns over the relationship. I suspect because the fucker sent me an email this morning forgetting to CC Janet in and then promptly remembering to afterwards, but I actually think he forgot. But I'm like, essentially saying something along the lines of, I hope that the rest of the review meeting with Bella went well. I imagine that the way supervision ended must have been distressing for you. Are you around like Monday afternoon to like have a discussion with Janet and myself in her office about this? To which I literally responded, no, if you're there. I was like, the way that you went about speaking to me and trying to help me problem solve with very legitimate issues that I brought up was quite confrontational and quite unsettling for me to witness. So I'm like, I need some time to think and process on that. I'm very happy to speak to Janet one-on-one because like I feel like that would result in a more productive conversation that would have better outcomes for both me and my project and my learning needs and professional development. But if you're going to be there, then no, I'm not willing to meet with you both until I've spoken to Dean and got some clarification about some questions and some additional concerns that I now have, something along the lines of that. Neither of them responded. And then I heard from Dean like 3 hours later being like, oh yeah, so David has also reached out raising concerns about the state of the relationship. So I think that email prompted that. But I'm like, I wasn't going to lie and be like, yeah, of course I can come in and have a conversation with you both, because I'm like, I don't want to go in for another fight. I'm like, I don't why would I want to come back and engage with you after the way that you treated me? Like, I'm sorry, but if you've just like verbally belittled me in front of my other supervisor and essentially like gaslit me in real time, been very verbally aggressive towards me and made me feel really small and insignificant and panicky to the point where like I literally ran out of that room, ran down the stairs and burst into tears, like that doesn't initiate like a, oh yeah, I want to continue being open and honest with this guy type feeling. Like quite the opposite, which I think is also what I said in the email. But I've just reached the point where I'm like, I just don't care anymore. I'm so over this. I'm so done with feeling unsupported by him. I've had confirmation from Dean that he's going to tell Janet the things that I wanted him to, and emphasise to her that even if she leaves, that like I've really appreciated how she's worked with me and that I've got no ill feelings or like anything towards her, and that I very much appreciated her kind of being on my side and feeling like she really wanted to try and help. So Dean is meeting with them both tomorrow morning. I'm at an event with them both, along with some of my friends and also some other academics within the School of Social Sciences that I know, for a community meeting at the Spark building from 10 till 1 tomorrow, which I initially was like, oh shit, I can't go to that. But then I was like, wait, no, why would I let this person push me out of opportunities that could benefit me in my career later? I want to show face at this event. I've wanted to for a while. My friends are going to be there, so it's going to be nice to see Janine before she goes back to London again. Like, it's going to be nice to see Josie, because I haven't seen them in a while. Like, you know, there's Rosa and a couple of other academics there that I really like and get on with, and like, again, haven't seen in a while, so like it would be really nice to see them. Plus Paul's going to be there and Sophia and like all the rest of the care team, who I again love and adore and really get on with quite well. So I was like, I'm going to go. Because I know that if the news comes through that Janet has decided to leave, frankly, if the news comes through either way, I know that it's going to be an emotional email for myself to read, because I feel like there's a lot riding on this. I really want her to stay, but obviously I can't make that decision for her. So my initial reason for not going was like, oh, I don't want to get really emotional and cry in public in front of other people. But I'm like, actually, I don't even need to have my emails open or look at my emails until I have finished that event. So I can then go back to my office or check them once the event has finished. And I'm walking back with my friends to go get a coffee, or we'll go get a coffee somewhere. And like catch up and like make sure that everyone's okay. And then it's like, okay, well, now that like we're not in this like networking community event, I can now check my emails and be like, okay, has Dean said anything? What was the outcome of that meeting? And have either a happy cry or a sad cry, depending on outcomes. So I'm feeling a bit stressed, and a bit nervous and a bit on edge, but long time I know that this is the right thing to do. And I think I would rather deal with the uncertainty of having an entirely new team, but hopefully winding up with people who are more experienced and better at trying to find ways to work with me than he was, then have just been like, oh, I can stay with these guys because it's safer and I'm not risking losing the, you know, Janet, who I really respect and admire and get on with quite well. It's a calculated risk. Hello. It's like 1,000 degrees outside right about now, so I am literally hiding in this office until it is cool enough that I'm going to manage to go wait for a train without feeling like I want to strip my skin off and take a cold shower. Oh god, today's been a day. On the plus side, got all of my papers that I'm in the process of typing up. There's one I need to discard. Was it 2? There might have been 2. Oh my god, they've all got mixed up. No, I think it was just that one. I was checking up this one, wasn't I? Yes. Sorry, chaotic at the moment. The heat in my brain don't get on. I'm not even sure where to start with this update. Other than I have very mixed feelings. I feel very sad at the moment because like it's the end of an era for me. And it didn't really end in the way that I wanted it to. I was really, as I was kind of saying yesterday, I was really hopeful on Wednesday that things would have turned out like literally any other way. I really didn't want to send that email. I really didn't want to admit that like things weren't working. I wanted to get it to function. And I feel like on some level I failed, which is really hard to like grapple with. So I'm feeling really sad. Like even though I'm like, for clarification, like I got confirmation today about an hour ago that David has left as lead supervisor on my project. We're yet to know about Janet. She's gonna tell the head of my school by the end of the month what she wants to do. So I'm still going to be on annual leave by the time her decision is passed on. But I just predominantly feel really sad. I feel like I failed. Because like I think like no one wants to get to the position where they've had to swap out one of their supervisory team. You want to find a way to make it work. And yeah, I just inherently somehow feel like I've let myself and Janet down, even though like I obviously haven't. But yeah, it's just sad and happy that like I've solved one of the biggest sources of stress in my life by getting rid of my lead supervisor. But like that wasn't something I ever entered my remit of things that I needed to consider when I started this PhD. Like it never crossed my mind that I would struggle to the extent that I have. And like stupidly being the empath that I am, like my primary concern at the moment is now with Janet. Like I want to know that she's okay. Which is ridiculous because like she's a fully grown adult, like, and she can look after herself. But I just like predominantly feel awful that I've put her in this position that she's been put in. And I feel really guilty that she got mixed up in all of this stress and chaos. Like she's not been perfect, but like who is. It's not physically possible to be a perfect human, but like she's been yeah, she's just been like really great. As you will have known throughout this month, as I've discussed the processes of trying to decide what I'm doing when I realised that things were not working out how I wanted them to. But yeah, I'm just feeling like I'm standing on shaky ground at the moment. On the plus side, we did get confirmation that Bella, my reviewer, has passed my review on, that I passed with flying colours, that she had no concerns whatsoever about my progress. So that was really lovely to hear, and is a big weight off my shoulder to know that like I've done it against all odds and with half of my supervisionary team not being supportive. I've done it, which is no small feat. But yeah, I'm just like, I was talking to my friend Shreya just before I got in here, and I was like, I'm really fucking scared that I'm going to choose the wrong team again. On a really various different levels, both from like a personal perspective, but also from like a professional perspective, and also from a project perspective, like every perspective that you can think of, including a very selfish one. I really fucking hope that Janet stays, because I know her, and I know that we work well together, and I know that we've got a strong foundation. From my perspective, she might think differently. And I know this is going to sound really weird, but I'm glad that she's taking time to consider whether or not she wants to stay on this project, because I think that shows that she's coming at this from like the right perspective of wanting to make sure that she's a good fit and that she's still comfortable working with me. Like, I'm really glad she's not just been like yes or no, and that she's doing what I would do in this situation if it was me, and being like, actually, I think I need to think about the practicalities of what this entails, which is like fair, and I fully respect her for that. But yeah, like the idea of starting over with an entirely new team is slightly terrifying, because if we exclude Stacey and Thomas from this equation, I don't seem to have the best track record with picking people to work with. Janet seems to be the exception. So I'm a bit nervous that I'm going to choose wrong. But we will know when I am back from annual leave what is going on, because I've asked to not be notified until I come back, because I'm like, I know what my brain is like. I've mentally been like, okay, we are starting completely over from scratch, because I think it is safer to assume that than get my hopes up and come back from holiday to upsetting news that Janet has decided to leave, which like she's well within her right to do. I think it's easier to deal with the opposite happening and assuming that she's leaving and then coming back and realizing that she's staying than it is to for my brain to like deal with the opposite happening. So I'm kind of anticipating that we're starting from scratch, even though I kind of don't want to. And that I will be coming back in August when I leave on Friday. Well, I'm travelling down on Friday next week. It's not like I'm going on Friday. I'm going on holiday a week tomorrow. Like I will be in France a week tomorrow, but I'm travelling down to my nan's a week today, if that makes sense. So yeah, we'll see.
Different town, same old people, hightailing to the road. Just a wannabe cowboy. Tomorrow another show. I have seen many highways, I have played many songs. Or just tell me what you're thinking. Speak your mind, ride a fast horse. quiet I take to thinking. I have seen many highways, I have played many songs. Or just tell me what you...
Hello. Welcome to France. It's the 20th at the moment, and I just found out a couple of hours ago that I now officially have a new supervision team, so that's fun. Not quite sure how I feel about it. At least I have a pretty view to look at while I ponder my life choices, and feel pretty dejected about my ability to find suitable academics to work with. I worked out the other day that I have a 36% success rate, and that was if Janet stayed. So it's now 2 out of 11. 3 if we count my dissertation tutor from Central. Yeah, I'm not quite sure what percentage that winds up being, but not very good stats. So, feeling pretty stressed. I'm pretty dejected. I'm kind of debating if it's worth continuing or not. Because I think there's going to be an element of paranoia that things are going to fall apart again. I just wanted it to go right. I just wanted proof from one person that they would stay. Starting to wonder if I just hypnotized Stacey Thomas. Quite why I thought the most difficult thing about doing a PhD would be me. I don't know. But feeling pretty crap. On the plus side, if I can find it. Made a cute mushroom. Because that makes everything better, right? So I gotta prep for the deep dives of an exit interview with my now ex-team. And try and work out who the hell is going to be a suitable match long term. I just fundamentally don't trust myself to pick good people. I'm terrified that this is all just going to fall apart again within the next 9 months, and I'll be back here. Not literally here, but here emotionally again. Yeah, I don't know. But I called it, didn't I? I said that I had this funny feeling that she was gonna leave. Maybe I should go to Vegas. I don't know what to do for the best.
There's a pretty large part of me right now that's like, I just want to give up. I want to just throw the towel in and not even bother with trying to find a new team and just start hunting for a different job. I'm wondering if maybe I was being too hard on them. Maybe I should have fought harder, maybe I should have, like, you know, not said anything. Just kept going and hoped that they would have magically sorted everything out. I think I'd been clinging on to this tiny little part of hope that she was going to stay. I knew it was stupid, but it doesn't stop you from hoping. I just wanted one constant throughout this. I don't know what to do. I don't even know if it's worth continuing. I don't know if what I'm doing is like worth it. And I don't know how to explain to the new incoming team of people what I need. Anyway, I'm gonna go crochet because I can do that well. Thanks for listening.
Speak your mind. Ride a fast